Hi everybody, welcome to the latest episode of Storytellers. This is our first post-COVID edition of Storytellers, and I couldn't be more excited to be sitting down with an actual human being and not in front of some stupid Zoom camera. So on today's episode, we're going to be sitting down with Dean Esser from EWYN Studios. Dean started this company from the ground up to where it is today with franchises right across the country. We're going to hear about his successes, his failures, and some of the issues he had to deal with during COVID. I hope you enjoy. Welcome everybody to our latest episode of Storytellers. This is the first post-COVID, fingers crossed, episode here that we're doing with Dean Esser from EWYN Studios. Dean, it's damn nice to be in front of somebody again.
It is. Thanks for having me out.
Yeah. So Dean, we want to learn a little bit about you and kind of how you got to where you're at here with EWYN. We know that, I thought, for a first guest back, this would be a fantastic start. We know that a lot of industries were impacted severely by COVID, and you being in the health and wellness industry you're in, I'm sure is no different. Tell us about your story. Tell us how you got to where you're at today here with EWYN Studios.
Yeah, so I took to working out at the end of high school. Was at it for a while, ended up meeting a bodybuilder I actually worked with, good friends with now, and opened my own, I guess, kind of private gym, detached garage. Started training for competitions in it and also started training people on the side. And one thing led to another, and it just got busier and busier and busier, and ended up opening up the first studio in Petrolia in, I think that was October 2012. It went so well that I started slowly buying equipment over the next year or so, and opened in where we're sitting today. Yep. Corporate office now is in Corunna, Ontario at January 2014.
Cool.
With that, ended up meeting somebody who was a big player in the weight loss industry, and ended up partnering together to build a program that has the best parts of health and fitness industry and also has the best parts of the weight loss industry, along with franchising and building some of the business. That's where he really came in handy too as well.
So tell me about that whole approach from one or two locations to building out that network of franchises. How many franchises do you have right now?
45.
45 across Canada, right?
Canada.
Yep. So what was that process like? What did you learn along the way?
Really, it's the business aspect side that I really learned. Obviously, with the health and fitness industry, from being in bodybuilding, being around everybody like that, that really came natural to me. The paper and pen, sit at a desk, fill out forms, paperwork type of thing isn't my strong point, we'll say. Sure. So I really had to learn that part of the business. And just. The expansion itself was just interesting to me, right? But I think the biggest thing is the combination of the two programs is what I really like about it. And what I mean by that is someone from the health and fitness industry like me, kind of, we don't believe in the weight loss industry to an extent. Okay. Yeah. I think we think it's a lot of gimmicks. It's a lot of diets people probably shouldn't be doing. And, on the opposite end, the weight loss industry is really, they think, we're muscle-bound meatheads, or I don't want to build that much muscle or do those, right? So to really bring a program together that has, that health and fitness part and also has that weight loss part was really, I think, the key to building something great that I don't want to say hasn't been done before, but it is very unique and possibly hasn't really been done in this capacity, right? Cool. So that's what I really like about it.
Yeah. So on the franchising aspect of it, how did you decide you wanted to go down that path instead of maybe just opening, I guess the lowest hanging fruit would be opening a couple of regional locations and try to manage them all? What made you decide to take the leap into the franchise model?
So the man who obviously was involved in the weight loss industry, he knew all about franchising, had franchised quite a few different businesses actually. So he had all that background knowledge that he passed on to me with it. Yeah. We just started really with people more that you knew or had been in the industry before. That's really how we started it out. Local
contact, friends and family sort of contacts.
Yeah, and people who had been in the weight loss industry before. He obviously still had a lot of connections, and that's where we really started out because it was just easier to teach them what to do and how to do it, right? Absolutely. It's just a different program and a different style.
Sure,
right?
And a whole different business model, I think, for some of them too then, right?
To an extent, yeah obviously with it, just because the dietary regimen and things along those lines are very different, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So as you kind of started down that path of growth, how important was the team around you, and what sort of aspects or traits did you look for in developing that team? I would think you guys kind of have a pretty impressive organization built here. I'm sure you'll admit you probably didn't do it on your own. What sort of team aspects did you look for as you were growing this thing?
I think the biggest thing is when we first started, obviously it was really about pushing growth and growth and growth,
Sure.
right? And I think you get really excited about trying to build it, right?
Yeah.
Obviously. And I think as we moved on with building the company, we really wanted a bit of a culture change, right? Obviously, from who I was with, it was a little old school thought on a lot of processes, right? And obviously, nowadays how people work compared to 20, 30 years ago is very different.
Yeah, even a year ago.
Yeah, exactly, right? So yeah, with that, we just slowly changed it, and more looking for that culture feel is really what we're trying to do. Is people who really want to work hard, but really enjoy being here, or being part of the team, being outgoing, and just really working together as a cohesive team.
Sure. How has your role evolved over the growth of the company?
I'm less involved at the studio level.
Sure.
When we first started out, other than accounting, I pretty much did everything. I used to do actually our social media posts for a bunch of studios. I used to do the advertising for a bunch of the studios. I used to really be involved with going there and troubleshooting with franchisees, as well as just doing more meal plan, people calling me and asking me questions about different things along those lines. Whereas now I'm more dealing with just more the franchisee end, to an extent, obviously working with our team who we discuss issues in studios or different things. But we have, a great team that supervises the studios too as well. Everyone just works together on that. Mine's more of now, maybe the stuff I wasn't as interested in, but I do like it now. It's different, and more of the paperwork end, and more of the go to franchisee locations, leasing, different things along those lines, trying to figure out how to build the company, add more franchises on, and we all chip in to kind of have EWYN look how we want it to look. But obviously that's a big thing that I really am quite involved with.
So more the owner than the operator standpoint.
Yeah.
Do you miss any of the operations type stuff? Any being in the trenches type things that
I think when you're at any job, I think you'd like to be relied on.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So some of the stuff you're now not relied upon, you kind of wish you had it back to an extent. And honestly, going to the studios, I used to go a lot more. You get to meet the staff, you get to visit more with the franchisees, and you get to meet the clientele, and it's just very interesting to see. Some of them really want to meet me. I don't know why, but they really want to meet me. It's just interesting. They'll thank you for the program, right? And obviously the people at studio are the ones helping them out and everything. But it's just fun to see the stories. You go somewhere, someone's lost 80, 100 pounds, on the program, and those are the things I really like.
Yeah. What's been the motivation over the years? Because again, this business, you've seen a lot that most businesses haven't saw in terms of that rapid growth. How long have you been doing this?
First weight loss studio was January 2016.
16?
Yeah.
Yeah, so not that very long to get to this point. Yeah, that's rapid growth. What has kind of been that motivating force to keep you going?
Honestly, it's really fun building something. Yeah. I think when we were kids, right? Everyone likes building something. Yeah. There's nothing better than building something, and building something that has a bit of you in it.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something that we all love doing, whether you're building a fence at home, you're building something at your house. The same goes with building a company. It can be fun, right?
That's right. That's an interesting concept too, that I've actually been doing some reading on. Is, do you find you're ever at the top of that mountain, that growth, that goal you're looking for, wondering, okay, what's next? Like, I've done this, or do you always find that next mountain to climb? Are you thinking like that far ahead in terms of, I've achieved this goal, now I've achieved this goal, now what's next?
Yeah, right now, obviously with COVID, it changed things, slowed a lot of that down to an extent. But yeah, I think it's just getting to that next level. We've kind of been on the cusp for a while here, right? As you're growing a business, you learn a lot of great things that you've done, but you've learned a lot of mistakes you've made too as well. Which can slow the growth down. And then obviously COVID just kind of halted that for a while here. But yeah, like I think it'll be exciting to completely be out of this and really go for that extra growth. I find it interesting. I think, we're at 45 studios. So the next thing is, 60 studios. The next thing, 75 studios. You kind of, it's almost like you're climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
And, you're a quarter of the way there.
That's right.
It's a great accomplishment. You feel great, but, you're really trying to get to that next level.
Yeah, you still have lots of climbing room left.
Yeah, to an extent. Yeah. I know it sounds bad. You should never be satisfied.
Absolutely.
To an extent. You should be at some point and be happy with your work. But really, I think a lot of business owners that are really great at expanding, aren't fully satisfied.
They're asking what's next.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a concept I just heard the other day. I'm like, that's a good one. Like, okay, we did this. What's next? Where do we go now? You mentioned COVID. Let's dive into that. Talk to me about what the last 14 million months felt like here. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but let's really get an understanding of how you and this industry was impacted. March 17th, when they said everybody shut down, year 2020, what went through your mind? What happened?
Very concerned about the business and losing everything. Yeah. And not just me, but we have tons of franchisees. We have employees everywhere that, I was very, very concerned. Yeah. And what can we do? Obviously it was so new. That was my biggest concern off the start is, are we going to make this? And what can we do to get through this? Yeah. Especially, the first bit was the worst because it was the unknown.
Absolutely.
Right. And I know we're still dealing with unknown and we have dealt with unknown, but the first unknown was the biggest hit. Yeah. And that's really pretty much the number one job for me was be positive all the time. Yeah. And that's all I pretty much did for the entire first 2 months is positive. And then you go home and some days you'd be really drained just because you're trying to keep everybody's head above water and everyone's worried about their business.
Including your own.
Yeah. And that's just it. And they're worried about, franchisees are worried about their own business and their location. Absolutely. Employees at corporate stores are concerned about it. Yeah. The employees at the franchise store are concerned about it. And then the franchisees, they're also concerned about EWYN as a whole.
Absolutely.
So, and then obviously, from here, I'm concerned about everything, and whether everything you've worked so hard to build is going to be done.
How did you handle that as the owner, as the head honcho? I know for me personally, I reached out to business owners of every walk in life in every region and everywhere around the world just to talk, because I always said my line I used it still to this day is that most people don't understand this side of the table in terms of sitting there. Like an employee is one thing when you're worried about whether you're going to have a job to come to, but then having the weight of everybody on your shoulders. I said to a lot of the people, just if you want to call and just swear really loud and have somebody understand where you're coming from, call me, because I get it. And then we understand that. So how did you handle that? What were your thoughts and how did you kind of manage that aspect of it?
To be honest, once again, it just went to positivity. We did a lot of Zooms. We did a Zoom, I would think at least twice a week for the first while to keep everyone positive. I find it interesting is when I had a bad day, then somebody else had a good day, and kind of it balanced off, right? And when they were having a bad day, I was having a great day. Yeah. And I think between talking to some franchisees in that time, where they were very positive about some of the outcomes, and staff members we have on here too as well were positive about outcomes. It kind of balanced. It was really that balance that it just seemed on the day where you were having a terrible day, somebody else was having a great day and would kind of pick you up, right?
Yeah.
So I think we all kind of relied on each other, through COVID for that.
Sure. Walk me through kind of after that. So March came and went. We kind of saw the impact and what happened. The lockdown started to come into play. How did the business change? How was it impacted? Kind of what happened next?
So the first thing, we went to online consultations, right? Obviously, and curbside pickup. And then as things started to lift, then obviously there was more in person, but obviously you had to do the protocols in the studio. So you're writing new protocols for things you know nothing about almost. And, and
changing
then
them 100 times based on the changing rules.
yeah, exactly, right. And per location and per province, right? Because we're not just in Ontario, we're in other locations. So everywhere is a bit different, right? So that was a lot of the juggling off of the start, is trying to get out policies as quick as you possibly could, get those things in place. And then, to be honest, we're kind of in the middle of the road. We're deemed essential, we're not deemed essential. It's a very gray area for our business. Ours is really not clear coat. You go to one city and they say you're completely essential, you're okay. You go to another and they say, no, you're only curbside. When we called the government originally, they said we were essential, so that's what we based it off of. If there's ever been an issue, there's been a few places where, they come in and talk and, hey, whatever you want to do, we'll do. No problem at all. And they've been great dealing with any locations that we have for the most part. So it's just kind of up and down and all over the place. But through it, we rebranded our products. And that was I think it's a game changer.
Absolutely.
What we did was make the products more easy for clients to understand, staffing to understand, everything. So someone just looks at the name of the product and they want to buy it right away. They're not asking, what is that product? Our products are very clear what they do now. That's part of the labels. So we changed that, altered a few things. We did an online health history form, and we're probably going to keep it because it's just easier to do with clientele coming in as well, right? So, there were some good things that came out of it too as well.
Absolutely.
And it also brought a lot of the franchisees together on certain things and more collaboration by everybody, right? Really. And, everybody was just willing to chip in or, help reduce costs or do different things along those lines, right? And I think for us, pardon the pun, but we were able to trim some of the fat to an extent. And it just, in the end, it's worked out, fairly well that way.
That's right. So then, fast forward to now, what's the business look like? We hopefully see this light at the end of the tunnel. What's business look like today?
Honestly, March, when we were, to an extent, most places were fully open, was one of the best months we've ever had. And, April, we actually had a really good month. Most of the locations had a very, very good month there. It would be in some of our top months for sure on average as to what the studios did too as well. I'm really excited for when kind of the floodgates open.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was listening to the radio today actually, and they said the United States, how many people have signed up for weight loss programs.
Okay.
Which obviously they're a little
20.
they're a little more out than we are right now. They said it in the past couple months, it's just been crazy.
That's awesome.
So, I feel bad for a lot of businesses. A lot of places had to shut down, and you feel for those people because you yourself as a business owner know how awful that feeling can be. But for us, in the end, I think it's probably going to, when everything opens up completely, bolster EWYN a lot more, and actually the locations and people looking for weight loss.
It sounds like here post-COVID, some of the new strategies and adjustments you made, which I'm going to touch on that for a second, that I think if any business didn't use this bit of a pause or lull as an excuse to reorganize, readjust, and refocus a little bit, they lost out on an opportunity we hopefully will never have again of this pause that we had last year. And it sounds like you guys took advantage of it to the full extent, which is excellent to hear. Will you maintain some of these new processes and procedures moving forward, the online, the Zooms and all that stuff, or are you hoping to get the hell away from the screens as fast as possible and get back in person?
I think during when COVID first started and we did online, I think everyone realized how it's not that easy to do online coaching. It is very different.
Very few that were successful. Everybody tried it in that industry in the health and wellness, but very few.
And it's very, very tough, right? The people who are generally very good at it are the health and fitness industry, but that's because they're also looking for a different, someone like me that wants to compete bodybuilding. That's a different story, right? But but process is obviously the name changes of the products for sure.
Absolutely.
And the online health history form, different things along those lines. I think there's lots of processes we will keep. I don't think we haven't had to change that much. based on our restrictions and different things along those lines. But I think you're right when you're saying this was the time to work on things you needed to work on. We're really working on building up our kind of profile or paperwork, et cetera, different things along this line for once all of this completely lifts to really push franchising.
Yeah.
So we've redone manuals, we've redone
That's
all
it.
that
Yeah.
that stuff. We're taking a different approach to advertising on it, all different stuff. We've really been kind of researching that to kind of when everything opens up, we're ready.
Ready to run. Yeah.
Yeah.
Took it as a chance to have a big breath of fresh air and then being able to kind of re-energize and go.
Yeah.
So in the normal day-to-day, pre and post-COVID, and we won't beat on COVID too much more during this, but burnout, how do you avoid it? Does it play a part? Have you ever experienced it?
Yeah.
How do you avoid it? What are your tools you use to kind of maintain it? Because I think everybody has, especially in the last year, had a dose of it, off and on again. But what do you suggest to other business owners that are?
It's hard, right? A good support team obviously is huge, right? My fiance is a huge part of that.
Yeah.
And I think friends and that really know me can spot when it's going to come on. And when it's going to come on, then it's dial everything back for a day or two or whatever it needs to do, put your phone away and let everybody else run things for a little while and take a little breather. Yeah. And I think the key for a business owner, which is almost impossible to do, as you know, is to put your phone away.
Yeah.
And that is,
nailed it, yeah.
It is, but that's one of the ways that you can almost completely, you're not checking out, but you need to check out for a day or two to regroup, because if you don't, you're going to have a problem that lasts longer.
That's right.
Right.
And that, especially today, the social media worlds are such a dark, dark place to fall down into that I couldn't agree with you more there, is delete the Facebook app and throw the phone out the door for a day or two.
Yeah, honestly, that's the number one thing is putting that away and having good friends and good partner.
Absolutely.
To be able to know when you're getting pushed too much and you need to just dial her down for a day or two.
Yep.
Take maybe a Friday off, take a breather, relax, kind of, that and a little Brooklyn Nine-Nine kind of, makes you think about nothing.
How do you define success? This is a question I ask all of our interviewees here during this program.
Retirement? No.
On that, do you actually see yourself retiring? You're kind of like me, you're going 100 mile an hour. Do you ever see yourself fully stopping doing what you're doing?
No, I mean, interest might change way down the road at some point, but I can't sit still.
I'm exactly the same as you.
I can't sit still, so I can't ever think I won't be working or doing something.
Doing something, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So for success, I mean, there's various forms, I guess, right? Doing something you love is, I mean, people would consider that success. I think at some point financial freedom's the ultimate success of a business owner. Yep. To me, being able to go do, to an extent what you want to do. And since when I first started training people out of the garage, and I was working somewhere else at the time, for 8 years, I never went on vacation. I never went anywhere. I never did anything, right? And then, but you kind of, if you start getting to a point, you can slowly start taking, a day here or, go golf. I didn't golf for 5-6 years. Ain't good. But, I didn't do it because you just didn't have time. And not saying you have time, but I think that's also something COVID brought us was to really learn, you got to take an hour or two for yourself.
Perspective,
to do stuff. So, as the company grows, I have that ability to do that a bit more than I used to. And because we have a team running things, I could take a day off or an afternoon off if I wanted. I mean, I don't really do it a lot ever, but, I think that's, to me, is when you can have that, the goal of owning a business is to build it up big enough that, you can take time off and it can kind of run its own thing. I think that's it. That is, starting to hit that success point, and the more you can do that. And then also, my standpoint is multiple streams of income. anyone that you read up, if you're reading Warren Buffett, reading all of this, you want to make money while you're sleeping. I think that's, the ultimate success.
Absolutely. So you mentioned the day off, and I think that's kind of a pivotal moment for most entrepreneurs to realize once they have the team and everything there, that they can take a day off and the business isn't going to fall apart.
That's a hard pill to swallow.
Absolutely it is. Yeah.
It's a very hard pill to swallow. The first time I ever took a day off that was when I was doing the personal training. The employee didn't show up for work on the Saturday.
That's about right.
And the next day I took off, which was a Saturday again, the thermostat broke and it was 55 degrees in there and I had to go in and fix it.
I never said it's going to be flawless that first day you take off, because it always will happen like that. Yeah, that's about par for the course here too. Yeah, I remember my honeymoon walking downtown New York, talking on the phone, dealing with a print order because I just couldn't. There was something come up that only I could manage, and it was a whole thing. But I think you grow and evolve and learn that how to delegate. That's a pretty tough one to learn when you first start going. But there's a way to get there for sure.
Yeah, the other, honestly, this has been one of my lifesavers. I know it sounds crazy, is my Fitbit.
Oh yeah.
And the reason why is I get my text messages to it. So instead of when you're with friends or anyone pulling your phone out and checking whether it's something that needs to be dealt with immediately, I can look on my watch and see whether is this something I need to take right now. The call, can it wait half an hour?
Absolutely.
Can I get back to them later? That to me has been a huge lifesaver, because before you were always pulling out your phone, seeing whether this call is something I have to take or this message is something I have to do immediately, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I tried it with an Apple Watch at one point, but I just found I was this the whole time. So I just use it as a watch now. On the topic of success and even failure, is there a moment in time throughout the course of this business in your career that is a kind of defining moment of success that you can look back on and think that I made it, or that was that shining moment for you in terms of success?
When I bought out my business partner.
That was the day.
Yeah.
That was the champagne smashing.
When that deal went through and I was full owner of here is when I felt it.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
On the flip side, is there a failure that stands out? One that that changed the way you do business, changed the way you look at business, or changed the way the path of this business altogether?
Yeah, I think on the failure, there's lots of them as you're building a business,
absolutely.
Right?
And it's not a bad thing either.
No, that's what you learn from, right? I think wanting to grow too fast sometimes is an issue, especially with franchisees and everything going on. Maybe pushing in wrong directions that you thought would really change your business, but didn't necessarily. I think those are really when you're trying to grow something, you want it to get there so quickly that you're putting blinders onto other things sometimes because you're looking at the end goal of money or the goal of building all this up, right? And one of the quotes, which I know I'm a huge rock fan, for anyone who knows me obviously knows that he said it, and I know he got it off of somebody else, but you overestimate what you can do in a year, but you underestimate what you can do in 10 years. And once I heard that quote, I really thought, okay, start focusing on not 10 years, you have to focus on now, but let's see where we're at in 10 years from
Absolutely. I think on that token too, there's a huge emphasis these days on all these gurus that are popping up about speed, which I'm not going to discount it for a second. Speed's what makes these small businesses stand out from the big guys and allow you to adapt. But you mentioned there, during the path for rapid growth, having the processes, the people, the financing in place, you can't just jump over those things and expect to never have to deal with them, especially when it comes to financing, is that you start running a little too quickly and it could bite you before you know it, right?
Yeah, and I think my standpoint is most entrepreneurs are really fast at doing a lot of things.
Absolutely.
And so it's not that type of speed. It's more of you're looking at the end goal.
Why can't you keep up with me?
Yeah, right. And that's what you're really looking for, because it's you're really quick at getting the things done that you need done. But it's more of that, just we're at 45. Why aren't we at 100? Why aren't we at 300? Why aren't we at whatever? Right?
Yeah. So on the topic of advice, what's one of the best pieces of advice you ever received during the whole process of building this business?
You can't be everything to everyone.
Have you worked with mentors? Did that come from somebody close to you, or was that something?
Yeah, it's actually one of my best friends told me that because, as an entrepreneur, you put everything on your shoulders, and you're trying to do, make everyone happy as much as you possibly can, and grow things, and be available to everyone, and no matter what you do, you can't fix everyone's
Absolutely.
problems, and you can't fix all the issues at hand, and when I heard that, it kind of took some of the, you feel almost guilt sometimes when you can't get certain things done or you're really working towards it. It kind of said, hey, I got to step back sometimes, right? My one is, leave the hoe in the field.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
what it is, because you're working so hard some days. You could be here till midnight, and sometimes it's like, if you just stop now and come back tomorrow,
Yeah.
we're going to get more done that way than working all night
Absolutely.
sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So those are, I think sometimes you put everyone's concerns onto you, and obviously you have to do that as much as you can, but you do have to realize there's only so much you can do.
Yeah. In terms of coaches, mentors, have you used coaches, mentors? Do you listen? Like, do you kind of take to that concept of talking to people that have been there, done that? I know you mentioned the business part to help you grow the franchise side of stuff, but is that a part of this business, or is it part of your way of doing things?
So I listen to podcasts. That's
Yeah.
a lot of what I do normally
Sure.
too as well. Read some books. I think, when COVID happened, I kind of lost a bit of that, right? Because you're
Same
just
here.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
focused on so much, right? That's
It
That's
seems, I
interesting,
know, because it seems
actually.
like it's a time when we should have been doing the webinars and doing the web training, but I just had no interest in diving into that.
Same here,
Yeah.
right? So but that's what I was listening to, and that a lot before, and reading up on,
Yeah.
good culture and how to build your
Yeah. Yeah.
business
Yeah.
and different things along those lines. Mentors wise, I think. A lot of mentors is you kind of pick pieces from all different
Absolutely.
people, is really what I do with
Yeah.
it. And it's kind of like, your parents, right? And what I mean by that is, and my parents are great, but when raising me, there was things they did that I would do differently.
Absolutely. Yep.
And just as they would do different things that I'm sure that I've done. And I think you learn from those. So there's a lot of great things you learn, but you also learn things that, from a business standpoint, not my parents' standpoint, are maybe mistakes, or things you don't feel would work well, or, aren't going to be appreciated in your business. So you take another approach. I guess the advantage I've had, is usually, if I'm very interested in something, I catch on very quickly. So if you and I are chatting,
Yep.
and you have this great idea on how to run business or doing this, I'll catch on to it very quickly, and try and utilize that tool to build my
That's
business.
exactly
Right?
it. It's building the tools and understanding that even though it may not be the right way or the way you agree with, at least you can modify it and then add that new tool to your tool belt.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's been mentors and stuff been a huge part in our business and my whole growth as well. And I'm just always interested to hear if others have kind of taken to that concept. I know there's so many gurus and business coaches and everybody else that popped up, especially in the last year. But to kind of look through the weeds and find the ones that make sense to you, I do think there's a lot of value there for a lot of business owners.
Honestly, to be honest, I would love more of that.
Absolutely.
To be honest, they say it, and you kind of outgrow a bit of your peer group.
Yep.
And that's happened.
Yep.
It really has. And then you kind of feel lost.
I agree.
And
with
you're
you.
looking for
Yep.
that new peer
Yep.
group. And it's not that you're not friends with the people you were
Yep.
before or anything, but it's just different. They don't understand business.
Exactly.
They don't understand, entrepreneurship, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Yep.
But every day, everything's on the line when you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something that,
Yeah.
unless you're in that, you can't completely understand
It's
that.
the risk. The point, they say the business is born the second somebody decides to take a risk.
Yeah.
And then you're in a whole new group of people right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only way, to me, to be successful as an entrepreneur is, to jump right out of the plane.
Absolutely. No plan B.
No.
Yeah. Any advice to budding entrepreneurs in terms of how they can achieve long-term success?
I think first off, do something you love.
Absolutely.
Do something you love and that you're good at. And I think if you really focus on that, that's the ultimate key.
Mhm.
For me, in school, I was, really good at math, different things along those lines, but it interests me, so I was good at it. If it interests me, I'm very, very good at it usually. And it comes to me really naturally, easy, quick learner on those things. When it doesn't, then it's kind of like you just completely forget, or it's like science to me. When I was in school, I couldn't understand that thing if my life depended on it, so I never got good grades because it just didn't interest me, right?
And when there's an interest, you'll dig down and persevere at that point in time because it's still fun and different. It's going to suck maybe in that period of time, but at least you can have that get up and go, right?
Yeah, and I think that a lot of entrepreneurs, when they start, they're looking for something to make them a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. And that's okay, but you need to go to the industry or, I guess create a new industry as to something that interests you.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you're going to spend all the time you need on it.
Absolutely.
And that's the second point, is spending a lot of time on what you're doing. And everyone thinks, I'll put the time in and I'll put the time in. No, it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And it's time that the reason most people aren't entrepreneurs is because they won't put the time in, and they also want the security, and those are some big things. And a lot of people want to put the time in, but are they going to put the time in?
Yeah.
When I first started doing the personal training, I was at the studio at the time. I was there at 5:45 in the morning, and I left at 9:30 or 9:45 at night usually, and I did that schedule 2 years straight. At least 2 to 3 years straight, right? That's what I had to do to grow it. You had to put everything into it and work it all, because you didn't have the money to pay a bunch of employees to do it either, right? And everyone's like, that's crazy. These hours are crazy, right? They are, but that's what it takes.
And if you love it, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's still hard and
yeah.
difficult, right? But, at the same time, is if you're interested in it, you have to understand those are the type of hours you will be putting in at the start. The goal is, that success goal is eventually not having to put in that much time, because you have a great team around you that, is helping you grow the business.
For sure. You mentioned this already a couple times, I think, but if you had to do this all over again, would you?
Yeah, I'd do it differently though.
Well, if I said, learn from the mistakes and do that, but the same path, the same industry, the same goal in terms of an outcome.
Yeah, I just think, like, obviously you've learned a lot from doing everything that you've done.
Yep.
But I enjoy it. Like I do, health and fitness was my passion, right?
Yep.
When people are like, hey, what do you do for fun? I work out, right? And as you're, I got into the business, and you're so busy, you lose that sometimes, right? And I'm back doing it a lot more now, right? Which is great. But that's really it, right? Yeah.
Fast forward 5 or 10 years, where do you see yourself? Where do you see the company?
Company, couple hundred stores. Me, I always will want to be a part of it. Yeah. Obviously, at that point, that would be the ultimate success, is a few hundred stores across Canada. I would just be at a very minimal role, right? Yep. So whether that's in 5 years, 10 years, I don't know what that number is, right? With everything going on. But, the goal would be in 5 years to be at, 200 or 300 stores if we can be. And, I don't think there's any reason that we can't be. And really, just slowly taking a step back, right? Yeah. We have a good team, I'm not worried about it. And, have someone run more of the day-to-day operations.
So, Dean, we normally end every episode of Storytellers with a series of rapid-fire questions. These have been the same since pretty much day one, and they're usually pretty interesting. Morning person or night hawk?
A bit of both. More morning, though.
More morning? How do you push through the night, though? I'm a huge morning person, but I'm usually passed out by 8:30.
No, I don't. Ever since I was young, I don't sleep a whole ton to an extent. I was always an early riser, like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm up every day by 6 a.m. normally. I probably don't even have to set an alarm. I normally fall asleep around probably like 11:30 at night. So I'm not a night hawk. Most people wouldn't consider that. But I'm a long day person for sure.
No doubt. Do you prefer to read your news on a device or in the paper? Phone.
All the time.
What's your favorite social media platform?
Instagram.
You took into that. Have you got into the TikTok?
No.
I'm talking like an old guy, eh? The old TikTok there?
The talk tick?
The tickety-tockety.
The book face? I don't know. To be honest, I know this may sound weird because obviously with your industry, it's different. The more I'm involved with business, the less I know how technology works. I'm turning into a caveman slowly as
I'm
business
kind of
progresses.
with you, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. Is that the more that, I've got a great team, great marketing team that oversees all of our social media stuff. I have no desire to be in it anymore, and I honestly don't know TikTok. I've never been on it. Don't care to be on it.
Yeah,
I have more important things to do.
I'm sure it's interesting and everything,
Sure, yeah.
and my daughter sends me TikToks from time to time. Both of them do, but yeah, like I
can't
don't
get into it. Yeah.
I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I know that sounds crazy.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
how to do anything.
Alternatively, I've fallen down the crypto rabbit hole, but that's a whole other meeting.
Yeah, I'm on the crypto.
Yeah,
too,
there
so.
you go. There we go. City life or country living?
Well, I mean, Sarnia is not really city,
Well,
right?
Yeah. Close enough.
Yeah, I like a bit of both.
Yeah.
A bit of mix.
What's one thing that's on your bucket list?
Oh. For what? Just business
In
or
general.
adventure
No,
or
personal, anything?
Go to Europe.
Yeah. Biggest pet peeve?
People not getting back to me. Even if they just get back to me and say, hey,
Yeah.
I don't have an answer, no problem.
Yeah.
People not getting back to me.
Just to acknowledge that they're working on
Just
something.
keep me up to date.
Yeah,
Even if there's no up to date,
Yeah.
keep me up to date. There's no up to date.
Favorite food?
That's a tough
It's
one.
got to be a cheeseburger. Come on, man. It's got to be
It
something.
can't be.
It's got to be something.
Weight loss
like,
industry, protein
Come on now.
protein powder.
Yeah.
That's it. No, honestly, I know it sounds crazy. I almost don't. There's nothing better than a good steak meal. I guess is part of it. Shrimp, love shrimp.
Yeah.
And if I'm eating poorly, burger, wings, nachos, probably
All the
would be
above.
it.
Yeah. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Clean desk or messy desk?
Yeah, I don't think you've seen mine. Mine's messy. Organized chaos, I call
I've
it.
heard that
I know where it
response
is.
so many
Organized
times during
chaos.
these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of my favorites. What song do you want played at your funeral?
Another one bites the dust.
There you go. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.